You got into sales to live an amazing lifestyle. And in this training, I'm going to explain to you how you can design an elite lifestyle, literally the life of your dreams, because sales fuels that lifestyle. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I did, how I created this amazing life that I live right now. I don't just talk about it, I walk it, I experience it. We're going to go through a lot here. There's a lot of shit here we're going to go through today. But I'm going to explain to you how you can design an elite lifestyle and create the life that you want because of high ticket sales. Because high ticket sales, remote sales gives you freedom. Like remote sales and being a remote closer is a ticket to freedom. It absolutely can be, assuming that you put in the work, assuming that you do things correctly. So I'm going to explain to you exactly how you can make that happen efficiently. What we're going to look at today is something called freedom architecture. Now, freedom architecture, as I see it, is comprised of 5 things: having surplus cash flow, travel flexibility, sitting at the king's table, which I'll explain in a second, health maxing, which is where your health is in check and your health fuels you to more and more success, and then thought freedom, which is where you get out of the haze and you're no longer trapped in the spiral of lower consciousness, low vibration energy that exists in the world today, which I believe is a plague for many, many, many young men. And I'm going to explain to you how to do this at an advanced level. Freedom architecture is very interesting. Freedom architecture is what I believe in. And it's how I've crafted a life for myself where I live in a country that I picked and chose to live. I have an amazing girl, and I spend time with the people that I want to spend time with. I'm able to travel and go where I please. I have an amazing, amazing network of friends who I consider brothers and I consider close to me. My health is in check and I contribute to my health. I train hard. And you can see, I always like showing just little snippets and clips, but you can see that lifestyle here. There's me out with my girl going out to dinner on a really nice dinner we had. This is a month we did. I think this was July actually, where we actually did 20K. This is one account. We did 18.2 on that account, and across a few other accounts had over 3K in cash. So we did 20K in July, which was freaking amazing, mostly profit. There's me and my trainer, Stefan. I went out to steak with a boy of mine. That's a photo from that. Went to go look at a Porsche Taycan, which I'm going to be most likely purchasing in a couple of months. So, like there's just a lot of stuff happening, and I give thanks to the game of sales for allowing this to happen. But the first step in this journey of freedom architecture, the first step always comes down to cash flow. Before we go into travel, king's table, health, all that, it always starts with cash flow. And this is not even a bad thing, but cash is the game. Like cash is literally the game. So if we go up here, there's 3 cash flow protocols that I have. If you want to create a life of freedom for yourself, there's 3 things that you need to be aware of, okay? Lock these into your head, lock these into your heart, because this is where your future freedom is going to come from. Number 1, you need to set a baseline. It's a baseline meaning $10,000 in every month and a minimum of $10,000 saved. Okay. Now, this $10,000 that you have every month is not all going to be like profit, because you're going to spend on your life, assuming you're not running a business. Maybe you run a small business on the side, right? Maybe you have maybe you do some copywriting stuff on the side. But if you're a closer and you're at 10K per month, which is ultimately where you want to be, you need to make sure you get there, of course. If you're not there, then that's where I come in. I train closers. But you need to be at that point where every month you are at 10K minimum. 10K is my standard. If I dip below 10K, something's very wrong. Like something went off in my life. 10K per month as a baseline for your life. It doesn't mean that you need to live off of and spend 10K every month, to be clear, okay? And then $10,000 saved. So at any given point, there basically always should be a addition of 20K in your accounts, combining savings with the cash you're bringing in. This is always what your standard should be. Now, over time, what I'll say, this is interesting, because I'm going to go ahead and highlight here. You're going to make like more than 10K at a certain point. I don't want you to stick at 10K. It's not like 10K is, oh my God, that's the highest level you should be at. You absolutely should make more than that. However, 10K per month coming in through income is the baseline, and 10K saved, is this the right highlighter to use? I don't know how to use a highlighter here, but 10K saved is the minimum threshold for what you should have in your accounts, if that makes sense. So 10K saved, and then 10K coming in per month in cash, which means that your commission should be at 10K per month and then saved inside of your account without you touching it. Like, you don't touch this. This is just for bad times, in case something went wrong. You don't spend this on crypto. You don't invest in a buddy's business. No, this is just literally cash you have saved for you personally if shit goes down. You should have 10K there. Then what you want to do is you want to spend less than you make every month. Okay, so every single month you're out, you need to be, every single month you're doing stuff, you need to be spending less than you make, okay? And be clear on that. Except for outlier months. There's gonna be some months, like as an example, me in August, I've actually spent a lot because I spent for my sister's wedding. I've spent, what else did I do? There's a project that I got involved in and I can't speak about, but I invested in that project, so I spent more there. And yeah, my sister's wedding was a pretty large investment. A lot of things that I'm giving to her and helping my family with there. So I spent more than I potentially might make in August. And still, August is me shooting this video. We'll see. I highly doubt that I'm going to spend more, but I've spent more than I normally spend. But generally, you're going to want to spend less than you make every month. If you find out that you're going negative, or you find out that and this is a mistake I would always make when I was a dating coach, I was bringing in cash. Like I was doing decently. I had months where I was doing 10K. Some months I do 12, 13. Some months I do 6, 7. But oftentimes I'd find myself spending more than I was actually making. So I never really had savings. And I've seen this with a lot of young guys. Like if you're going from check to check to check and you're living check to check to check, cut down on your expenses. It's not very difficult to cut down on your expenses. It doesn't mean you have to go and like live off of ramen and shit and not enjoy your life. That's not what this means. What it means is just you have a threshold where you set something aside for savings, a couple hundred, a couple grand consistently. Every single month you have that standard. And then you just shave down your expenses to where they're not more than what you'd be making per month. That's all it is, except for an outlier month, right? Maybe a month you're gonna have to invest in some things. Maybe a month you get a car. Maybe a certain month you put a deposit down for an apartment and rent the apartment and spend a bunch on that, right? Maybe there's certain outlier months where you're gonna blow like 15K. That might happen, but it shouldn't happen often. It should be very, very rare. So generally you're gonna wanna spend less than you make per month. For me, I generally spend anywhere from 50 to 75% of my income coming in every month. And then the rest of it's saved, and then I have a little bit of overhead for the next month. That's basically how my income works. The next thing is what you're gonna wanna do, because if you're not making money, bro, like if you're stuck under 10K per month, and this is the problem most closers are, most people who get into sales are stuck under here, and I'll explain why. What you need to do to break past that is invest in specific knowledge and high-level skill set acquisition or high leverage skill set acquisition, which means that you simply have to be better, be one of the best in your industry, in your field. Like for me, the reason why as a sales pro, and now I train people in sales, I can consistently always hit 10K per month is because my skill set is very high leverage, right? Like I have a high leverage skill set, which means that I can get on all the best offers. I can take the most volume of calls. I have the best mentors. I'm around the best people, having the best conversations. The reason is because my skill set is high enough, it's so high, and it's very high leverage, where 10K per month is the standard for me, and that's normal. If you're not at that point, there's a good chance that your problem is skill set and your skill set's not good enough. An example of training in your skill set is QL Pro. That's our training program where we put people inside, we train closers on objections, we train them on leadership, we train them on communication. It's extremely intense, it's very advanced, and it's not easy, I'll be straight up, so it's not easy like just, oh, snap your fingers and make some money. You have to go through a pain period and through some very aggressive training and rewiring of how you think to become a leader, become someone who handles objections, become someone who understands the right frames and psychology when it comes to sales, and then you'll make a bunch of money as the people we have inside are doing. But you have to invest in specific knowledge and high leverage skill set acquisition if you are not at this mark of 10K per month, right? Because here's what's gonna happen, like the thing that's gonna lead to you actually having crazy good cash flow, the thing that's gonna lead to you making that happen is high quality opportunities and then high volume. It's those two things working together, high quality opportunities and high volume. High quality opportunities is very, very important. I can't underrate it. Like it's potentially the most important thing in this whole game. I'll bring a pin up here. High quality opportunities basically means that as you're out in the sales game, you're not sitting on offers that are really shit. You're on offers that have, one, a good culture, they have a good mission, and they have good ethics. That's huge in sales, right? Like I know a lot of sales pros that have a decent skill set. They're not amazing, but they have a decent skill set. And if they were to get onto an offer that was very, very high quality, they'd make way more money, like way more fucking money. And then the second part of the high quality opportunities is higher volume. Like all the guys that I train right now, I tell them, I'm like, dude, I want you on an offer that may not be like everyone's so qualified and so perfect, but where the volume is high priority, because your 10K months, it's gonna come from skill set plus volume, right? Like the successful months that you have, it's literally gonna come from skill set plus volume. It's not gonna come just from you taking like 30, 40 calls per month. It's not going to come from that. Because if you take, let's say, 30, 40 calls per month, or that's what's booked in your calendar, some of them are going to be no-shows. So let's say that you have 70, let's say 40 calls, and then 70% of them show up. That means that's 28 to 30 calls that actually show up. And then let's say your closing percentage, you're probably not even that good, right? So let's say out of 30, you end up closing 6 to 8 calls, which is like 20-ish%, give or take, which is what a lot of sales pros end up stuck at if they're not very, very good. You close 6 to 8 calls, and let's say comms for that is 500 to 800 per call. The math checks out, right? You're doing $3,000 to $4,000 in comms. Now you're way below this baseline of $10,000 per month, which is a problem, and we don't want that to happen. So what you want is high quality opportunities, which is where the cash is going to come from, having high quality opportunities, and then high volume. Those are the two things. Good culture, good mission, good ethics, and volume, which is high priority, and your 10K months are gonna come from that. This is where your freedom, like this whole thing that we're gonna go through here, we have a lot to train on. This whole thing we're gonna go through all comes from these cash flow protocols. Like it literally comes from you making money. There's this quote from Naval, which I think is absolutely amazing. And he says, the most valuable knowledge in the modern world is highly specific. It's highly specific, unique insights and skills that cannot be easily replicated or commoditized. And we call that specific knowledge. And knowledge, specific knowledge, I like to see it as knowledge that you can apply to gain a better position in your life. So when I acquire knowledge, I don't just want the knowledge I acquire to be like, oh, here's how you do something, that's it. I want it to be knowledge that's gonna make me money. And that's one of the things we emphasize in QL Pro. Like when I train my guys, the thing we focus on is specifically applied knowledge. How can you use this knowledge to make more money even in other arenas? Like a bunch of the guys that I've worked with now are making content online. They have YouTube channels. They're helping other sales pros now. Some of them have come back in our coaching in our program, right? The reason this is happening is because the priority as a closer, the priority for you in sales is not to just be the little sales pro who understands how to have a nice conversation. It's how to be able to handle objections, how to be able to lead, because all those things are going to lead to you having a high leverage skill set, which I can't emphasize enough is where your long-term money is going to come from. Okay, so I want you to become 1% in your skill set. I want you to thrive. I want you to have the success that you're looking for, and that's going to happen. That's going to happen when you train with the right people, when you learn the right skills and make cash. Like all your freedom is going to come from here. Okay, now after surplus cash flow, once you start to see cash, and this was my first step because I hit 10K per month in 2018 and then it dipped. Like I did really good in 2018. I wasn't a closer. I ran a dating coaching company and we launched an online course and that course did really, really well. I made just at 6 figures that year, I believe, maybe across 14, 15 months. I made 6 figures. I was making good money, right? I had 10K months. Some months I did lower, but I generally was making good money. It was the first time I ever experienced freedom. So what I did was I literally packed my bags and I was living in this shitty apartment in Newark. I was living in this terrible apartment in Newark, New Jersey, which is the literal ghetto. I was living there and I vowed that I would never, ever live there again, never go back. And that has been the case. And what I did is I packed my bags and I said, I'm gonna go travel. Every single young man needs to do this. If you are a young man who's working in sales and you have you definitely do have the ability, but you may not think you do, and you have some level of freedom where you're making some level of cash consistency, get a fucking passport and travel. If you're European, I don't need to tell you this because all the Europeans travel. Everyone else except for Americans. So if you're an American, I'm really talking to you. Start traveling. Pick up and go to a different country. Travel flexibility is going to change your life. Now, when I say travel flexibility, I'm talking about growth-based traveling. Growth-based traveling means you make the world smaller and you increase your opportunities through something I call location sourcing. Location sourcing means where you learn from different locations and you use travel as an asset to educate yourself. So one of the things that I did really right is when I started my journey traveling, I didn't start my journey traveling like, oh, let me go on vacation and sit on some nice beach and make nice Instagram content of me being on the beach. It wasn't that. I wasn't traveling like some fucking normie who needs their little vacation where I'm stuck in the haze and I'm just like, I have to travel. I have to travel because I need that travel flexibility because it's fun. It wasn't that. What was happening was actually, I decided to pack my bags up and travel because I wanted to explore something outside of my environment and I wanted to educate myself and see the world entirely differently. That was huge and it was a massive part of my life. And I call this growth-based traveling. So right now, if you're a closer and you're starting to see cash come in, you're starting to have those months where you're at 8K, 10K, 12K plus, and you're starting to see that, the first thing you need to do, one of the first things I do, even if you don't have tons of cash, by the way, you don't need a lot of money to do this. But if you're on that path, pick up and travel can be cheaper than you think. You don't need to go to fucking London. You don't need to go spend on the resort in Cancun. You don't need to do that. That's what I call luxury traveling, right? Those are the people that are like, I'm traveling because I hate my 9 to 5 and I need to wind down on the beach sipping a cocktail. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about keep working, don't take a vacation, take maybe a day because you have to get on a plane and go somewhere. Be aware of the time zone shifts. Set up your calendar and go to another country and live there for 2 months. Just fucking live there. You don't need to know anyone. Just go live in another country. And what I did here is I put down a couple of amazing cities that I've been to, or countries I should say. A lot of these places is I've been to and I've spent a lot of time here. And I think that they're amazing for traveling, amazing for setting up as a home base outside of where you grew up, just setting up a home base. And the reason I like these places is because the culture's great, they're cheap, as in you can live really well on a decent budget, so you can stay under your income limits. So let's say you're making 10K a month, you can live very, very well in any of these countries for like, let's say 3.5 to 5K per month. You could live even better for more, right? Like me, I live in Budapest. Hungary is, my country, and I live in Budapest, and I spend more than any local here would spend, way more, but I'm still below the thresholds of how much I bring in per month, and I live very well. Luxury, I have a luxury apartment, like that's basically a penthouse. I live in the best district in the best city in the country. I live literally next to the government buildings, near the parliament, like all that's amazing, right? But I'm able to do it at a better rate because the country here is just more affordable for me making US dollars as a closer. I can gain more for my buck, if that makes sense, for the income I'm making. So here's a couple base countries that I found are really awesome. You have Hungary, again, where I'm living now. Eventually, we're probably going to be doing some meetups in a mastermind here, which I'll be working on. That's kind of a big project I want to build next year. But Hungary is huge. Poland is amazing. Warsaw, Poland is great. I have a bunch of friends out there. There's some really cool people. The women are awesome to date. If you want to get into the dating scene and start to work on relationships too, like the women there are really good people. I've generally found they're very quality women. Again, city's super cheap, but it's very modern. So you can live a really great life there. The best gyms, access to all the best technology, great expat entrepreneur community in Warsaw. That's amazing. Another one is Colombia. I haven't personally been to Colombia, and I'm not going to go because it's maybe one day I will. But Medellin, all that, it's just not my vibe personally. But I've heard good things, and I've heard good stuff about Colombia as a home base as well. I know guys that are there. I have friends who have relocated there, and they've invited me. Maybe I'll pop out at some point, but Medellin is another place to consider and to look at. Another one would be Mexico, right? Living in, where's this, either Mexico City. I know some people there. Some people are living in Tulum. I have a couple buddies that are in between Tulum and Cancun and have apartments there now. Mexico's another really good place to relocate, to live, especially what I would say is if you have a time zone issue and you can't leave like the US time zones easily or flexibly because of work, because of closing, because you have to be on, the right time zone to take calls. Check out looking at Mexico. That could be very interesting as well. Another one is Thailand, Bangkok. I've got a bunch of friends there. I know some really good people based out of Bangkok. Time zones really may be a problem. So if you're closing towards EU, US time zones, like you wouldn't want to live here. Me as an example, when I was closing full time for the company I was working with, I wouldn't have been able to work in Thailand because I would have probably had to start my closing day. When would it be? Maybe, I'm confusing all the time zones now, but maybe it would be like 11 p.m. I would have to start the day or something like that, maybe 4 a.m., something weird. And I wouldn't want to do that. So I wouldn't recommend this if you have to close on US times or EU times. Just be aware that may not be great. Indonesia, Bali. I lived in Bali for a while. Bali was such an amazing experience. And I recommend to all my people to go there. Bali's just amazing. And then we have UAE. UAE is interesting. I put quotes, I put asterisks around it because living in Dubai is not cheap. Like it absolutely is not cheap. That's a fact. If you want to live quality in Dubai, you're going to spend money. If you've gotten your closing skill set to a point where you're bringing in 15K plus per month consistently, I'd recommend looking at Dubai as a place to live, especially if you want to look at business ventures, look at your building your network, looking at who you connect with and where you relocate. Dubai could be very, very interesting. That's another option to check out. But you want to set up a really great base country. And you want to relocate. I'm telling you, you want to relocate. You don't want to be living in your whatever Western hellhole that you live in right now. Fuck that. You're probably not living the quality life that you could. And I'm not saying this to be some average travel bro. Maybe it sounds like I am, but I promise you with all the respect in the world and like from the deepest part of my heart. I'm saying this because you literally can live a better life by unlocking travel and picking a country that is not the stereotypical Western country to live in. The quality of your life will increase, and you can educate yourself so much more about how the world works. So you want to become travel unlocked. And the advantage of remote closing is actually freedom, right? So if the advantage is freedom, why not use freedom and take up freedom? Part of taking up freedom is exploring this beautiful earth we have. And you have one life, right? So enjoy it. And I can proudly say that. And there's many more countries that I've spent a lot of time in that are not here. But they're not places I would recommend living in. As an example, I lived in Melbourne, Australia for a while. I wouldn't recommend living there. It's basically like living in fucking the US. Or like I've spent a lot of time in London. I wouldn't recommend living in London. It's quite nice, and it's a place I personally would want to live in. But if you're starting your journey of freedom, I wouldn't recommend a place like London, right? But the remote closing advantage is freedom. So one representative of freedom is freedom to travel and being unlocked in terms of where you live, which is absolutely, absolutely massive. Then we have the King's Table. Now, the King's Table is one of my favorite concepts because it's all about building your network. There's 3 levels of network that I truly believe in, that I've adopted in my life. These 3 levels are your inner circle, your invested network, and your mentors. Okay, I'm going to share these with you. So your inner circle are the people who share the same vision as you and drive you forward. I have the people in my inner circle, the people that I consider my brothers, the people that are the closest to me that I can go to with anything. And many of my videos I've shouted them out, but these are the people that I'm very, very close to, that I identify with deeply in terms of their journey of success, and that I learn from, that I consider brothers and people that I build with, right? That's your inner circle, people who share that same vision as you, the people who drive you forward, the people who help you put your foot on the gas, the people who say, hey, are you moving towards your goals? Are you moving forward? And you do the same thing for them. It's very important that in your inner circle, you guys share the same vision. The same vision doesn't mean you're working on the exact same business model. It doesn't mean that. In fact, I don't even have any closers in my inner circle. There's no one in my inner circle who is a closer. The way I tend to create my inner circle is I have people that have adjacent mindsets, right? So my buddy Lillian, as an example, is a copywriter, done very, very well in that space. And when he contributes to me and gives to me and imparts his knowledge into me, I learn so much from it, but it's adjacent knowledge. It's like parallel with me. He doesn't have the same knowledge as me because I'm the sales guy. And I put stuff into him in terms of knowledge as well. I contribute to him. But when he gives me advice, gives me stuff, it's coming from a different perspective because he's not the same. My buddy Robbie, who's not a copywriter, who's a trader, right? He manages assets. And looking at him and his journey, again, it's a different perspective, right? My friend Vazul, my buddy Stefan, who's my trainer, right? There's different perspectives that they all have, and that's my inner circle. It's people who share the same vision of success, people who share the same vision of excellence, and these people drive me forward. The second part of the King's Table for you is going to be your invested network. Your invested network is going to be the communities or the programs that you invest in for growth and for applied or specific knowledge. That's going to be huge. So the communities that you invest in terms of growth, the communities that you invest in terms of very specific, very applied knowledge, right? As an example, our training program, the program I run, where I've got my group of guys, my closers, and I'm training them to hit months where they're at 10, 15K plus in commissions, right? That network that I have, that they're in, is their invested network. So the guys who have invested in me and my work, we've come together, now we have a network, but they've paid for it. So I have networks that I'm a part of that I've paid for. One of my good friends and clients, Nero, as an example, is quite successful on YouTube. A client of mine, I met him through my invested network because I paid for a program from a mentor. We both were in that program. We ended up connecting, and he ended up becoming a client of mine. I ended up helping him build some sales systems. So that's your invested network. Your invested network is the communities, the programs you invest in for growth, for applied or specific knowledge. And then you have mentors. It's very important, by the way, that all 3 of these are dialed in. All 3 of these things need to exist on every level for you. Mentors are the people that are a couple steps ahead of you that shine a light on your path forward. And mentorship is so huge. Like I can't overstate, I should say, how important mentors are. Mentors are the people that are going to guide you. They're the people that shine a light on the path. And it's not to say like you have to only pay for mentors, because I have people that mentor me and I don't pay for them. Like there's people that have imparted so much wisdom and knowledge into me that I haven't paid. But then also you can invest in mentors too, right? You can invest in network, and then you can invest in actual mentorship. I invest in mentorship regularly. I invest and pay for some of the best mentors. And sometimes mentors and invested network will overlap, right? I have times where my mentors have literally come from my network, or I've invested in a mentor in a network, and then I have times where I've met a mentor through a network. It's been both. Back when I was in the dating space, one of my earliest mentors, Owen Cook, that was someone that I took on as a mentor, but I met him because I was invested in their community and inside of their circle, right? So thus he became a mentor, right? It wasn't just where I randomly was like, hey bro, can I have value from you? And he said yes. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of people I even have in my DMs right now, and I feel bad sometimes because I'm so busy training people, helping people who have paid me get results. Hey bro, can I ask you a question? Hey bro, do you have a job opportunity for me? Like, just taking. Like, just taking. If you want mentorship, invest in it. Like, and if you don't have the money to invest in it, work on your base level skill sets. You can get a couple dollars in, and you invest in a network and get inside. And then people who are mentors will want to talk to you, will want to contribute to you, right? That's the game. That's how you play it, okay? Then what we've got is health maxing. Become health maxed. Let's go back over here. There's me and my trainer. There's me and my boy Stefan. Shout out Stefan. I'm actually about to go work out with him. And how much time do I have before my training session? Okay, like about half an hour. So this is what I call, I went to the wrong way. Health maxing is down here. Health maxing is optimizing your operating system. Check out the Superhuman Diet on Instagram if you want to look at more about this. He's someone who I follow, the Superhuman.diet. Someone I'm very invested in terms of his process. So there's 3 things you need to really optimize the OS and your operating system. And before I like break all this down, I want you to understand 2 things. I'm so big on health maxing, especially nowadays, the last year I really have been, as I've made more money, because I realized that the only way for me to sustain this level of focus and this level of attention into my mindset, into like I wouldn't say my health, but into my purpose and my path. The only way for me to sustain this is to actually max out my health. That's the only way. That's the only way. I had a period last year when I was in an intense focused period of mastering sales. And during this period, I was training in sales. I went hardcore for about 3 months in a sales mentoring program, and I stopped going to the gym. I basically shut my entire life down. And I didn't feel good. I did not feel good. I didn't feel okay. That's the truth. Like, it wasn't good. But then on the other side, I mastered the skill and became one of the best at sales that anyone around me knew, right? And still, I 100% will say that. I don't know very many people that are better than me at sales, specifically handling objections. You know, I've gotten to a very high level at that. Now, one of the reasons I was able to do that is because, again, I let go of all the health maxing. But then when it was time to really make money and it was time for me to perform very well in my sales role, like very well, I actually had to go back to health. I had to, and that was the only option. And the reason why it was the only option was because you're in your body, which is this machine. Your body is basically a machine, and you want it to perform correctly. Like, you want to think correctly. You want to be able to create the right mental pathways that are going to lead for you having success. So there's 3 things that I prioritize in my health that have fueled me making a bunch of money, that have fueled me making 6 figures in under a year, in way less than a year, right? And have helped me help other people make money as well and perform and be the best at what I do. Body movement's number 1. This is gym, MMA, sports, and athletics, okay? Gym is lifting weights. You need to be in the gym. What I would say is, like, out of these 4 things, for me, I always want to do 2 of them. Not everyone's going to do this. Not everyone's going to, like, knock all of these out. I don't think that that's even realistic, given that you don't have tons of time. You have a finite amount of time, assuming that you're working, let's say, 5 to 10 hours a day. You know, you're not going to always be able to do all of these. Maybe you will find time, but at a minimum, you need to do 2. Gym is number 1, lifting weights. I'd recommend every young man be in the gym and pump weights, just to understand your own strength, to understand that you can push heavy things as a man. That in itself is an exceptional position to be in, an exceptional awakening and realization to have as a man, that I can lift heavy shit, and I'm okay lifting heavy shit. Being in the gym and lifting heavy things, deadlifting, benching, doing curls, doing squats. Secondly, we have MMA. MMA, getting in a ring doesn't mean you need to go compete or anything. That's way out of my league. That's way beyond what I can do. But getting into a ring and doing some fighting, throwing some punches, you know, with a friend, with someone that you're cool with, going back and forth and getting some punches and getting some movement in, right? That's a huge part of body movement. Understanding as a young man, hey, I can hit. I can be hit. Being able to take a punch, being able to get hit, not freaking out in the face of getting punched, right? And being okay with taking a hit. That's going to be huge. Number 3 is sports. sports, some kind of sports, and I'm huge on basketball. So going out and shooting, going out and playing, getting movement in, getting sweaty, getting tired, out of breath, letting that happen, competing in sports, winning. Athletics is just running and things like that, where you're not necessarily competing, but you're pushing your body to the max. Maybe some things like calisthenics, that kind of stuff. So this is body movement. This is number one. It's very important that, especially as a closer, because what's going to happen is you're going to be in your head all the time, talking to people, having conversations. So it's just going to be in your head, in your head, in your head. It's very important that you find a way to get in your body too. And this I found helps me on sales calls. Like when I feel jacked and I feel in shape and I feel that pump and I feel that in my body, I feel that in my life, what happens is, it's very interesting, I take that to my sales calls and I feel that groundedness in my body, right? I feel it in my chest, I feel it in my plexus, it feels freaking amazing to me. So this is the next part, it would be body movement. And then we have eating. Eating is really big. Less sugar and less alcohol. I don't want you guys just slamming sugar. I'm telling you, having less sugar in your life will clear your mind. I'm not a food scientist, and by any means. I do the best I can. I know a little bit of information on it, but I'm not even going to educate you on it here. Look at Lewis at the Superhuman Diet, and he'll break down everything on his Instagram and his content. But for me, when it comes to eating, I try to cut out all sugar except for natural sugar. So I'll eat berries, I'll eat some fruits, things like that, banana. But I'm not slamming sugar often. Now, this is one big thing I struggle with because I love sugar. Like, I will destroy a Rice Krispie treat. Like, I will do that. I love candy. I'm about to go to the movies on Saturday, and I'm definitely going to eat some candy. But what I do is I greatly limit this. And maybe I'll make a separate video about self-control and how to put limits on yourself for success, for excellence. But I'm generally minimizing my consumption of sugar, and then alcohol is another one. So all through 2023 and the beginning of 2024, I completely cut out alcohol. I mean, complete zero. And that was an amazing challenge I did for myself. I believe I went 15 months alcohol free, which was freaking amazing. Now I'll have a cocktail sometimes, very low sugar, something that's very light, as a social thing. It's not going to kill you. There's nothing wrong with that, especially the work I've put in to get to this point that I'm in right now. But if you're on this journey, I would say minimizing or even cutting out alcohol completely will do wonders for you. It'll absolutely do wonders. And just competing with yourself and having those boundaries for yourself is going to be huge. And the final point is sleeping. Sleeping is major. When I sleep, and this is something I stick with now, there's 3 things I need to do. Number 1 is blackout curtains or a sleep mask. I don't have blackout curtains in my apartment. I have very dim curtains that almost black out, but it's not fully. So I put on a sleep mask because I want no light coming in. Any light will interrupt and fuck with your circadian rhythm. It's not great. So sleep is so important. I've noticed a direct correlation between my closing performance and my ability to have very powerful conversations and be on point as a sales pro, that next to my sleep. So when I have shit sleep, my performance goes down. I can still close deals, but I don't feel good doing them. I'm a little bit off. My performance dips. So sleep is important. So blackout curtains and a sleep mask, or a sleep mask. And then I have something called my 8-hour sleep cycle, where I will not sleep less than 8 hours. I will not do that. If I wake up and I've slept only 6 hours, I'm going to go back to sleep. I don't care. Like, I will go back to sleep. I'm not just waking up for the sake of it. Oh, I have to wake up at this time. My priority is 8 hours. So this is why I always prioritize going to bed earlier so that I can sleep and wake up earlier, because I have to get 8 hours of sleep. So if I want to be up by 7, I know for a fact I need to be in bed by 10:30. Like, I need to be in bed 10:30. I'm not always waking up at 7, right? Like yesterday night, I think I went to bed at 12, give or take, and I woke up today at 8:30. I had my 8 hours. That was good. I was happy with that, right? And I began to feel it. Sleep 8 hours, get a full amount of sleep. Oversleep. It doesn't mean oversleep like lounging around and stuff, and I'll show you this point here, which will explain it more. I'm not lounging around slacking, but I want a full sleep cycle because that's gonna fuel the rest of my day. And then no pre-sleep scrolling. This device, I'm actually shooting this with my phone, so I can't show it to you. I always like to pull up my phone and show you. But that device, your fucking phone, that's scrolling on your phone, is gonna kill you, man. And not kill you like you're gonna die, but it's not gonna help you get to where you wanna be. It's not gonna put you in the best position to succeed. So no more scrolling. Get out of that haze of scrolling, of I have to scroll, I need to get more of that scrolling feeling in my body and that scrolling in my life. Cut that out. No more pre-sleep scrolling. Okay, now, and when you do that, by the way, you go to bed with the wrong thoughts in your head. When you're just looking at junk, you literally have the wrong thoughts in your mind. And this, yes, applies to being a closer. The last part of this, and it's a great transition into looking at no pre-sleep pre-sleep scrolling is thought freedom, leaving the haze. A lot of people call it the matrix. I call it the haze. The haze is beating the programming, okay? There's 3 ways that you're gonna be able to beat the programming that's in the haze. The programming is literally keeping you stuck at your limits right now. So if you're seeing an income limit and it's 5K, and you can't break past that 5K commission limit, right? And you can't do it, and you just see that you're there, you're not breaking past. Well, you need to beat the programming. You need to escape the haze, educate yourself, train yourself with the right tools, right, and get to where you need to be. So there's 3 ways you can escape the haze. Win the phone battle is number 1. Eliminate scrolling. I'm telling you, scrolling is cancer for your mind. It's cancer for your soul. It's cancer for your heart. Scrolling it's a slow drip on you because you're getting all this excess stimulation. You haven't earned anything. You're getting this stimulation and seeing, whether it's your success scrolling, watching reels of Alex Hormozy or watching my YouTube reels 24/7, right? Whatever content you're watching, even my shit, right? And you're sitting here looking at this and maybe you're a fan of what I do, which is amazing, but you shouldn't be scrolling and just taking my stuff in constantly and not taking your own actions. So you need to win the phone battle. That's number 1. Your phone is either a device that can help you and can act as a tool that will make you money and give you freedom, or it will take you away from where you need to be, okay? And the other one is earning your dopamine. You have to earn your dopamine. You have to, if you want success, of course, you don't have to do anything, but if you want success, you have to learn to attach the dopamine, which means the reward system in your brain for success. That reward system has to be attached to you having worked for it, if that makes sense. Right? So earning dopamine is a massive part of this game, the game of sales. One thing that helped me a lot was when I started to associate a great, amazing feeling to closing a deal. I know a lot of closers, by the way, whose relationship with dopamine drips is so bad, and they're getting dopamine unearned, right? Whether it's through porn or whether it's through excess sugar, through drinking, they're earning dopamine in such or scrolling, right? Seeing motivational content can make you feel like you're doing something. They're earning dopamine in such a shit way that when they close a deal, 5K, 10K deal, they're like, just close the deal. That's a little deal, right? What the fuck is that? Earning dopamine means that you work hard for the wins, and the wins feel amazing, right? It's like, imagine porn, right? You see some chick on screen and you're like, oh, she looks good, cool, I can get off now, to that, versus you never watch that, and the only way you see a hot chick in front of you is when you go out and actually approach her and make something happen and bring her home. It's gonna feel way better doing that if you don't have porn to compare it to, because you've earned that, and that feeling of, oh my God, there's a woman in front of me that I've earned and I've met her, it's gonna feel so much better because you've earned it. Learn to earn your dopamine. My closes felt so much better when I started earning dopamine and I cut out the haze. So I kept my phone on grayscale all the time because I would win. Your phone is gonna be the source of the worst dopamine drip possible. Your phone is. The scrolling, whether it's IG, TikTok, YouTube, whatever you're scrolling and looking at, your phone is gonna be literally the worst place for dopamine. It's the worst place. It's just feeding and throwing dopamine at you, and it's designed to do that. All the colors, it looks like candy. So I keep my phone on grayscale, and I'm constantly winning this battle on my phone. I'm constantly in a state of winning it. And I'm earning dopamine. I'm earning it in my day-to-day life. When I go to the gym and I push weights and I hit a new PR, that's me earning dopamine. So my life is a constant competition with myself to outperform myself and earn more of this good feeling of winning and having success. Closing deals, helping people, seeing my clients win, all of that. Meaningful and real conversations, that's the other part of this game. And the other part of beating the programming, beating the haze, it's having conversations with people that are going to stimulate you, that are going to uplift you. Just the other day, we were at a festival. I was at Siget here in Budapest. It's a festival called Siget Festival. And I was there with my buddy Lillian, and we literally just spent hours talking. Just hours. Like, there's people dancing and getting high and all this stuff. We had a great time. Just sitting and getting present together and talking about life, talking about business, talking about success. And it was an amazing time, right? Meaningful, real conversations will contribute to you escaping the haze and destroying and beating the programming. Because these conversations you're gonna have are happening in the real world. And I know a lot of people who have literally no meaningful conversations, bro. Like, they just sit around, it's just scroll. I know a lot of girls like this. They'll just scroll, and then talk about, oh, some fashion thing, what some celebrity's doing, just blah, right? Oh, why my job sucks, why school sucks, why this sucks. They're not having conversations about winning, about success, about conquering, about achieving, about greatness. They're not. That's how you escape the haze. You beat the haze by creating your own reality around your own success. Winning the phone battle, earning dopamine. This is the game, friends. This is it. This is it all here. Take a screenshot if you want. You can zoom in. Take a screenshot. Leaving it there for a second. That's the game. This is what we're doing this year. If you want freedom, this is the architecture. It's working on cash flow, travel flexibility, building your network, sitting at the king's table, maxing out your health, right? Doing things like that the right way, and then thought freedom, which is thinking on your own, leaving the haze of thought that controls so many people. I want you to have success. That's why I've made this channel. We've slowed down with YouTube videos recently because I've been training so many guys now, guys and girls actually, on hitting 10K plus months with sales. So that's really where my focus has been, but I'm gonna be putting more focus back on YouTube, so you should be seeing more content coming out here. If you want to train with me, completely for free, you know, I don't sell things on YouTube. I don't tell you buy anything. I'll never do that here. But if you want to train with me for free, come into our community, Quantum Level. And I see some comments sometimes, people getting mad, like, hey, I haven't been approved. Yeah, I'm sorry. If I don't like what your answers are in the group, the way you answer the questions, if I don't like the energy that I feel from you or what I get from you, I'm not going to approve you. That's just the truth. Like, I approve people that I personally would want to maybe have in my circle, or that I feel have that, you know, what I'm looking for in this community, in this group. Some people have requested again, and I've approved them the second time because they came at this with a different energy. So I don't know, as an example, if you have a blank profile picture and it's like, how much do you want to make per month? And you say you want to make 2K a month. I'm not going to approve you to the group because you're not even showing your face. You can't put effort enough to look good on a profile picture and show that. And your highest goal for what you want to make is 2K a month. I'm not approving you to the group. Sorry. A lot of people I know are coming from certain countries that you know, have a bit of a different journey into this space. There's a very high chance that I won't approve you if you're coming from one of those countries, and I'm sure you can guess the countries I'm referring to. I'm not going to name them, but if you're coming from those countries and I don't feel like you'll contribute to the kind of conversations we have and the way we think and the way we push, there's a chance I won't approve you. Maybe I will. Maybe if I feel you're an outlier and a little bit different, maybe you'll come in, maybe you'll get in. But I'm very particular. We have over 300 pending requests right now. This group easily could have been at 1,000 plus members by this point. We have 300, I think right now, 340 pending requests, and our group is at 707 members as of me shooting this video. And I'm not approving the people who are in the pending requests. Sometimes I go through and I look at one or two and I'm like, hey, I miss this person, but I'm not going to approve you just because you asked to be in my free group. No, I pick and choose who's in this group. Okay, but if you want to come into Quantum Level and train with us, come in. I'd be more than happy to have you if you are a good fit. It's free, so I have no obligation to just let you in. But come in, and the link is down below. Otherwise, take action. I want you to make money. I want you to have freedom. I want you to build a life of your dreams. That is what we are here for. That is what we do. That's what I do. That's what I've done. Okay, goodbye. And I will see you on the next training.